All right, well, while our attendees continue to roll in, I'll go ahead and start our welcome so we don't take up too much of everyone's time today. So thank you for joining us for the webinar, The Art of Visual Storytelling with Scott Clanin of Clanin Marketing. And just a few quick things before I hand it over to Scott. You are welcome to ask questions. We just ask that you submit those via the chat box, and we will cover them once Scott is done with his presentation. But please feel free to submit those at any time throughout today's webinar. You'll also receive a follow-up email tomorrow morning, and that will include a link to the recording of today's session, along with the link that Scott shares at the beginning of the PowerPoint, where you can download a PDF version of today's presentation. And as most of you know who have been on our sessions before, our website is under construction right now. And so if you are looking for our continued marketing series with Clanin Marketing, the best way to find all of those sessions, we have 7 more still this year, is on the Clanin Marketing website. So I will be sure to link that directly as well. They have all the dates, times, and titles for those webinars, and then you can go directly to Zoom to register for them. They are all being held virtually for the rest of the year, so please feel free to join us for those. We also have a wide variety of co-hosts on today's presentation with us, and I will include links to all of their websites in that follow-up email as well, so you can check out any of their organizations too. I'll go ahead and hand it over to Scott, and we'll get started.
Excellent. Thank you, Jordan, and good afternoon. Thank you for joining us for the art of visual storytelling. One moment while I share my screen, and I'll pull up today's presentation. All right, Jordan, just to confirm, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Excellent. So again, this is the art of visual storytelling, brought to you by the Illinois Small Business Development Center, excuse me, at Champaign County EDC, and all of our incredible local community partners. So thank you very much for making today's webinar possible. Like Jordan mentioned, if you'd like a copy of today's presentation, you can visit our website at claninmarketing.com/workshops. Right after the list of our upcoming webinars and workshops, we do have a little section that says for attendees. You can fill out your name and email, and again, you'll get a PDF copy of today's presentation. Which for this one, I do recommend downloading or at least taking some screenshots along the way today. I do have a handful of slides that have a lot of text in it just to kind of give you a variety of different thought starters. So today would be one definitely to download. As Jordan mentioned, my name is Scott Clanin. I'm the owner of Clanin Marketing. We're a marketing and creative agency based in downtown Champaign that serves clients all across the Midwest, anything from brand development, website design, video production, and more. But a lot of what we do, when you're thinking of developing, solid marketing strategies or a really strong social media content calendar, right? A lot of what we do ties back into the story that we're looking to tell. I think a lot of us, we struggle with, what do we post online, right? I don't want to post just to post, or I've gotten too busy. I should just maybe throw something up on our social media accounts, or send a newsletter out, or something of that nature. But in reality, I think it's good for us to just pause for a moment and think of our strategy. And really what comes from strategy development is a good story. And that's what we do a lot of times when we are helping our clients with a variety of different marketing campaigns, social media content generation, and more. We're always thinking about what's the story that we're looking to tell, because we all love a good story. And so that's what I'm going to be sharing with you today, is when we're developing different stories or looking to identify what your story is, and thinking of ways to share that visually through photos or videos. I'll be sharing a lot of those kind of thought starters, questions that we go through our sessions with our clients. So this is the agenda for today. We have elements of storytelling and the value of storytelling. So before you even get to the fun part, right, where you're taking photos, you're designing graphics in Canva, you're recording video for Reels or your Instagram story, you need to back up a little bit, because that's where a lot of people start going down that rabbit hole. They get lost. They don't have a solid direction. They don't really have a story they're telling. So it's really important to think about what are the elements of a key story and what's the value of what I'm doing. We're going to go through a couple little, there's a little case study of a kind of a what's called a sequence call to action when it comes to storytelling, tips for identifying what your story is. And then we're going to go through some tips that our photographer and our videographer have shared with us today. And then I want to end with just some other examples. Like with all of my webinars or workshops, I wish we could spend all day, all week talking about just one topic, which we could easily do, but we simply just don't have the time. I do want to make sure we also leave some time for questions. So be sure, like Jordan mentioned, to ask those in the Zoom chat bar, the top or bottom of your screen, and we'll get to those at the end. But today, really, like a lot of our webinars, it's really that tip of the iceberg, right? I really want to get some ideas across, to get those thought starters going. So then when you do start diving into your own storytelling strategies, you have a pretty solid solution moving forward. All right, so let's dive right into it. The first one we're going to talk about are just elements of storytelling. So when it comes to a good story, what we're looking for is a few things. Consistency and authenticity, right? You want to be real, because we can easily point out certain accounts or certain brands online that aren't being authentic. You want to understand your audience. A lot of these elements of storytelling really tie back into your branding. And so if you've been on our branding webinars in the past, or maybe you've gone through a brand session, you know that your brand is more than just a logo design, right? Your brand is just kind of a makeup of who you are, what you stand for, your visions, what makes you different, et cetera. It's really important to make sure you've developed your brand. That's really going to help you understand and identify what your stories are. Then you can create some great content, some great visual content through photos, videos, et cetera. So really important to understand who you're talking to online. This is really key, not just with storytelling, but just marketing in general. Anytime we're running a type of campaign or creating graphics or creating video, you really want to understand who your audience is. Communicating the problem you solve. So why should someone utilize your services? What's the benefit of purchasing your products, of using your business services? Building your character, again, what you stand for, who you are as a brand, and of course, connecting with your community. It's not all about selling. And what you want to avoid is, when you're creating content, visual content, and again, we'll go through examples towards the middle tail end of today's presentation, but you want to avoid, hey, call us or buy now or visit our website or sign up today. Those are all what's called call to actions. And you want call to actions within your own storytelling content. But it's also important to remember that you want to connect with your audience. You want to connect with your community. So don't always sell. Build this kind of group of brand advocates, these loyal followers, through other things. And we're gonna talk about what those other things are when it comes to sharing what your story is. So if we think about like authenticity, you want to think about these questions here. So why does your brand exist, and what led you to start your brand? Or why is your organization, why was your organization founded, or what you stand for? What does the brand offer, and why is it different from other competitors? Again, this is all kind of the starting stages of really good storytelling. Once you've answered these questions, you start generating essentially the building blocks required to create your story. That second bullet there is one of the first questions that we always ask our clients, whether they're a B2C, a business to consumer, or B2B business, a business to business, where like our company, we are working directly with other businesses. But at the end of the day, for I would say most of us on the call, we all have competitors. And so the question that we always ask is, why you? Why should someone utilize your services, purchase your products over a competitor that might be right down the road? And if you have a hard time answering that, that's where I would encourage you to just pause for a moment before you start taking all the really cool videos and photos, to really understand who you are as a business and what makes you different, because that's what's going to help make you stand out online. We all know that the world of social media is super cluttered. It's very, very busy. And the way that these social media algorithms have changed, not very many people are seeing our content like they once were 8 to 10 years ago, right? You could have 100 or 800 followers, you post something and maybe only 25 people see it. So times have certainly changed. How do we cut through that clutter, right? It's all about telling a good story and setting yourself apart from a competitor that might be right down the road. So this will help inform your about us page, right? Storytelling, yes, visual storytelling through photos and videos is great, but you want to make sure it's consistent. So whatever story you're telling, whatever keywords or phrases or differentiator talking points that you're leaning into, you want to make sure that's reflected elsewhere. And so when we talk about the About Us page, your social media bio, it's great to make sure that it is consistent across. So if you haven't done this in a bit, I would recommend almost doing a little self-audit of your brand presence online. Look at your website, look at your About Us section, look at your social media profiles, your bio sections there. Maybe evaluate the last few newsletters that you've sent out. Does this really capture who we are? Now, a lot of that does, again, tie back into your branding, but this is going to help set the stage for really good visual storytelling moving forward. So again, this is kind of that starting mark here. Okay, going back to authenticity here. So when thinking about how you explain your unique selling proposition, it's best to have a simple phrase that helps illustrate the point. Maybe your brand is passionate about education. A phrase like educating the masses helps paint a clear picture. Or if you're passionate about healthy and affordable food, a phrase like making healthy food affordable again helps invoke a personal response from a reader or future customer. Again, slightly going back to some brand development, but just try to think about quickly summarizing who you are, what you stand for, your values, your mission, etc., into some more branded statements, some branded taglines, right? Again, this is all going to tie back into when you're starting to generate content. Of course, like with any solid marketing strategy, you want to make sure you understand your audience. So an effective brand story is one that impacts your audience in every stage of their customer journey. So let's dive into this a little bit more. So ask yourself these questions. What's your core demographic? What are their taste, ambitions, dreams, right? Hobbies, behaviors, lifestyle choices, etc. And what issues are you trying to solve for them, right? We can't be, and this is also a flag that goes off during what we call discovery meetings, when we meet with clients for the first time, is the question, in addition to what makes you different, what sets you apart, we always ask, tell us more about your target audience. And if we have someone say, well, it's everybody, right? We reach everybody. We just have a wide range of products and services that kind of stand out to a variety of different people in different age groups, demographics, etc. And that's not the best answer. We can't be everything to everyone. And so we really want to make sure when we're generating our story, who are we talking to? Because that's really what's going to resonate with that specific group. When we're thinking of a story too, I'll bring up some other examples in the future, but one of our clients is a local bakery, right? Of course, who doesn't like bread? Who doesn't like carbs? So they could easily say, our core audience is really everyone. But when we start peeling back the layers here, right, we start identifying that this brand does not use any preservatives in their baking methods. Now that's something different, right? We're on to something with that a bit more. We now know that, yes, they are a bakery, but they don't use any preservatives in any of their baked breads, pastries, etc. We also learned that through exactly what we were just trying to go through those questions, right? This kind of exploratory research. We also learned that, they bake everything using kind of old world traditions, right? It's the way it was done many, many years ago with the starter, the way it's formed and baked and all this other stuff. And of course, there's a variety of other things, but we start realizing that, okay, their breads, their pastries are at a slightly higher price point than a mass-produced loaf of bread in the store that is full of preservatives, that is fine on the shelf for weeks because of those preservatives. So we start identifying that the people buying this bread, right, which is that differentiator of there's zero preservatives, it's baked local, right? We start identifying this other subset of people, of customers, this other core audience. These are people that are willing to spend a little more because they want to support local, willing to spend a little more because they are perhaps health conscious, right? They don't want preservatives in their food. They want kind of just clean foods, and they want to and they enjoy the taste, right? Someone who maybe has a more refined palate, right, for higher end foods, higher end restaurants. You could certainly taste a difference in the bread that is mass produced versus some that is made just like it was many, many years ago. So of course there's more to that, but you start seeing how we get there, right? How we start identifying what your differentiators are and start developing your story. What are these stories that we want to tell? So I'll probably bring that back into some examples here as we're going through some ideas of ways to visually tell your story. Communicating the problem that you solve. So part of an effective brand story is communicating, again, the problem that you solve. From simple things like household storage to ethically produced clothing, it's important to incorporate this into your brand messaging. Same thing with that bakery. The problem that they solve is fresh, locally made bread with no preservatives. So if you're looking to, keep your dollars local, if you're looking to eat clean food that tastes incredible, we're solving that problem for you. And then, of course, building your character. So effective brand storytelling requires a brand character that is related to your audience. So if you work for a large corporation, perhaps the language you use is more formal or authoritative in order to encourage trust. If you are a new brand that's targeting millennials, you may opt into using witty sentences and humor as a ways of communication. So this ties back into, again, brand messaging, brand development, but essential for storytelling. You tell me more about your just brand character and the tone that you have when you are communicating with your customers. And you certainly see that. I mean, there are brands out there that are definitely targeting that younger demographic, Gen Z, millennials, etc. And you'll start noticing that the way they communicate, the way their copy is, and email distribution, social media, videos, captions on Instagram Reels, on Facebook content is slightly different than, of course, well, not slightly, but very different than like a financial institution. So really keep that in mind as we're building out some ideas for storytelling. And then finally here, for elements of storytelling, you want to make sure that you do connect with your community. So in order to foster a sense of connection, use your social media networks to respond to feedback and interact with customers who have taken the time to interact with you. So whether it's reposting images, quoting or tagging positive customer reviews, or simply liking your comments, this starts to facilitate a relationship with your customer. So again, I want to go back to that example when you are working to create visual content, right? Photos, graphics, videos, etc. You don't always want to be just selling. And you want to open the door and create the sense of connection, create the sense of community. So there are times for us throughout the year, in order for us to create the sense of community, we will run fun little games, polls, other type of interactive quizzes and things within our company's Instagram story. We're not selling anything at all. It's a feel-good little 3-minute break from their day that they can interact with us through this poll. We share the results and we see great success with it. Now, of course, we're not doing that all the time, but one of the reasons why we do that, part of kind of our storytelling, is that we're a professional yet fun, approachable local company. We want to build those connections online. We want to humanize ourselves a bit more. We don't always want to be buttoned up, super polished to the point where we almost look like we're unapproachable. And so that's why we do some of those more fun, interactive, lighthearted items, because it all goes back to our story of, we're a smaller, locally owned company. We love what we do. We have fun with it. And we love that you follow us online. And so that's one of the reasons why we do that. And so again, I'll be giving you some examples too, but think of some ways to where it's like, okay, if you don't want to constantly be marketing yourself or telling maybe specifically how you got started, take a break from that and do something a little different, and make sure your name is attached to it. And so anytime we do these kind of building our community, establish these connections online through these quizzes or interactive things, we always want to make sure our logo is on that, because again, if you think about it, they're having fun with this little poll, this game, this we have their attention for 3 to 5 minutes, which is great online, because you can see as you continue to scroll through Facebook or Twitter or TikTok, I'm sorry, X, it's not Twitter anymore, on your couch, we are scrolling left and right? But when you stop and you interact with something, we finally have their attention. How do we then remind them that this little fun interactive thing is coming from our company? And so they have this great, they're having fun with it. Maybe they're smiling, they could be laughing or something with it, but yet our name is associated with it too. So we're bringing both those together. Okay, so those are some key elements of storytelling. Now, I will say, are those the only things that make up a good storytelling online? No, there's so much more. Again, limited with time today, but those are some of the key ones that we try to think about when we are helping our clients develop and craft kind of their own storytelling messaging. So let's talk about just overall the value of storytelling. At the end of the day, we all love a good story. Stories have been around for a long time. And we all love a good story, and especially too when it comes to advertising. So a recent study showed that campaigns that tell a brand story before asking people to buy something are significantly more effective than one that focuses on immediately encouraging people to take an action. Again, what does this mean? You don't want to go in for the immediate sell. Think about the old school days of like QVC, right? The reason why like QVC became super popular is because of their hosts. They're not just putting a product on the screen and saying buy now, right? They have a host, and the host is telling stories the whole time about, maybe they're selling some casserole dishes or something, and then the host is talking about, I remember my grandma on Christmas morning would make this casserole, and yada 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 yada. They're telling stories to help push that product, right? And so that's one of the reasons why QVC is still around, because of really good storytelling, and they're building that connection with their audience. They know who they're talking to. And so they're really playing into that. And you feel like when you're watching it, you feel like you know them, right? And so that's really, really good storytelling. But you don't want to go in with just, okay, I'm going to start this company. We're going to sell polos. I'm going to make a post, and we're going to say, hey, we have a sale today, 3 polos for blank. Great. There's many other shops that sell polos. I can go online and buy a polo. I could do this and buy a polo. Why should I buy a polo from you? So again, that's that storytelling here. There's something with, this is a little example here, but again, what I want to get across with this concept is it's almost a ladder effect when you are advertising online. So this is specifically on Facebook. If you're running a Facebook ad, whether you're boosting a post or running, I love carousel ads. If you're running like a carousel ad on Facebook and Instagram, what I like to do is try to run sequenced ads, where maybe this ad rotates midway through the campaign. So if you're newer into the community, maybe the first thing that you post is just simple brand awareness. Hey, we are, in this case, for this company, let me move my little Zoom bar here, Refinery 29. It's a little hard to read, but it says the world's place for discovering, empowering, and celebrating personal style. Sign up now. And so they kind of talk about this is who we are. Their call to action is to sign up. Live your life in style. So it's that little very, I don't even know if I would call this an elevator pitch, but a very quick elevator summary of who they are. So this is who we are. And then you can kind of see that second one. The middle funnel is for product information or consideration. So after that first one's been running of, okay, this is who we are, here's a little more information that's more leaning towards that consideration phase. So wonder how those French girls get so pretty, get daily beauty inspiration delivered to you. And then you have the link there. Still have that call to action to sign up. The little title there is Discover Your Style. You can kind of see the first one, we're talking about who we are, then we go into more consideration, and then the last one is more of a direct call to action. So sign up to get the latest dish on celebs, fashion, beauty, and health trends. Become an R29 insider. So if you look at these side by side, or in this case stacked, you can kind of see the sequence here. And this makes sense to me. If we didn't see the first two, and we see that last one come up on our screen, sign up for the latest dish on celebs, fashion, beauty, and health trends. That may not work for a lot of people. Some will definitely sign up for that, but I would say you're going to get a better return, a better response to your call to action through this more sequenced storytelling. Because again, a lot of times when people want to run an ad or post a photo or video on social media, they immediately almost go towards that last one where it's that direct call to action. But we want to back up a little bit. It's more of a longer game and explain to them who we are, what we do, why we do it, and then go in for the direct ask, because they have a little better understanding of who you are because they've seen your content before. Again, just some other examples here. I'll just for sake of time, we'll probably just skip this one and go over to the next one here. So you can see the difference between, this was just a study, I think this was probably a couple of years ago here, in terms of conversion rates. When we're talking about a conversion, that means someone taking an action on your CTA, your call to action. Again, your call to action is sign up, learn more, buy now, call now, message us, etc. Those are all CTAs, those are all call to actions. When it is sequenced, when we do that strategic storytelling along the way, there was a higher, a larger increase of conversion rates, people taking that call to action, right? They clicked to learn more, and they clicked buy now, they went over to your website, versus someone who didn't do that kind of sequenced call to action, that sequenced storytelling. So at the end of the day, what I'm really trying to get across here is when you are thinking of your story, and when you want to start running ads and promoting things, don't go in for the direct sell. Give it some time. First, kind of explain who you are and what you do, why you do it, right? Build that sense of community, and then sprinkle in those direct call to actions, and you will see you'll have a better result when you do that. This was just a testimonial from, why is my mouse doing it? Testimonial from Refinery 29. By telling the Refinery 29 story during the acquisition process and building awareness and consideration before driving to conversion, we were able to increase our return on investment and ultimately acquire more informed and qualified subscriber. And that's another key point too, is, you know, a lot of people worry that I don't have a whole lot of followers on my page, or I don't have a whole lot of emails on my email newsletter, right? That's okay. It's all about quality over quantity. I would rather have 200 high quality followers. These are people that have a high probability of using our services. They interact with us. They read our stuff. We've even maybe done work with them in the past, but they're 200 high qualified people, then 1,000 followers, where a majority of them are maybe underinformed, will never have an intent of reaching out to us, right? So don't worry about the vanity of your follower count online, or how many people are on your newsletter account. Continue what you're doing and do it well. Share your story, share your brand story and your differentiators, and you'll start to see that the people that follow you are the ones you want following you. These are the ones that will perform that call to action and convert over to a customer. Okay, so hopefully that set the stage of what goes into a story and the value of a really good story. So let's start thinking of what are some ways that we can identify your own story and how to apply that into graphics and other ideas. The first one, of course, is what makes you unique. Every business, every person has a story to tell. And even if you think you don't have one, you have a story. It's all about just sitting down and trying to identify what makes you different. So explore how your brand is different from competitors. What sets you apart? What would your loyal customers say about you? Why do you do what you do? Why did you start your business? Why do you work for a nonprofit organization? What's your mission and purpose? Has your why changed over the time? What drives you and your team? For me, we do what we do because I love the world of marketing. I love the world of creative, right? And branding. And so I knew before I started my company, I was kind of tired of doing the same marketing for the same company over and over and over. When in reality, I knew that there were so many businesses that had these incredible stories that needed help with marketing. And so that's why I love what I do. I'm very passionate about that. And the rest of my team is as well. So again, answer a lot of these questions for yourself. What kind of story do you want to tell? Again, we're going to go over some examples of types of stories, but not all stories are created equal. So to determine what kind of story you're telling, figure out how you want your audience to feel or react as they read and view. For us, we really work to empower not only our clients, but empower people like you today, people that have never worked with us before. Marketing isn't hard, right? But it takes time and strategy, and you just have to know what you're doing. And it shouldn't be something that's covered up by a curtain. We love pulling that curtain back and sharing tips and tricks with the community, because when the business next door is successful, we're successful, right? When the community is successful, we're all successful. So tell people about yourself. So tell a story that features genuine, humanizing struggles, failures, and wins. Today's consumer appreciates and connects to brands that market with authenticity, and storytelling is no exception. And the reason why we're seeing more and more brands become more authentic is the world of these short format videos. You're seeing these influencers, right? And they're building connections. And the way that they're building connections, the way that these companies and brands are building their following left and right is because they're humanizing themselves. They're sharing these stories, they're sharing these pieces of content that resonate with their followers because they know who they're talking to. So again, don't be afraid to tell people about yourself and be a little vulnerable from time to time. Convey value. So tell a story that features, I'm sorry, that is actually a typo there. That is a duplicate of that. I was like, this sounds the same. So convey your value. So again, what you stand for, thinking back to your branding of what's your mission statement? Do you have a mission statement? What are the values, your core principles that you stand for, your attributes that make you you? And convey those through your pieces of content. And then, of course, we talked about the importance, of course, fostering community and collaboration. So tell a story that moves readers to discuss and share your story with others. Use a situation or experience that others can relate to and say, me too. Keep situations and characters neutral and attract the widest variety of readers. Great example that I have found myself just telling other people, because I think it's kind of cool, is that there is a really good Mexican restaurant in downtown Champaign. And one of their differentiators is that they hand make all of their tortillas from scratch. Like they are grinding their corn and then making the tortilla. They get the corn locally from a farm in Champaign County that they vetted. They make sure it's high quality corn. And it tastes incredible. Like I remember every time I went there, I was like, I don't know what's with these tortillas or what's with these tacos, but they always taste so fresh and so good. They shared that story on Facebook. They went out to the farm shared the photo of the farm that they get their corn from, and really lean into that differentiator. And now, last time I was there, I felt like a nerd. I was telling people, I was like, did you know they make their tortillas? Can you believe it? Right. So you're building this kind of brand, these brand advocates. You're not necessarily that, and that post wasn't about, hey, book a table tonight. We'd love to serve you. We have this margarita special, whatever it may be, etc. It wasn't that direct sell. It was more storytelling about what makes them different. And in that case, it was making those tortillas from scratch. Super simple, but it takes a little bit of time of, okay, let's think about our differentiators. What can we lean into? Okay, great. We have that story now. What are the visuals that we should make to go along with it? And honestly, I could see them take a step further of, do a drone flyover of the field, maybe when they're harvesting, show them in the kitchen grinding the corn and making the tortillas, right? There's so many more visuals that we could add to that unique story. But at the end of the day, they're off to a good start because they're sharing something that makes them different. And then provide knowledge or educate. So tell a story that provides unique educational pieces of information that leaves them feeling empowered and wanting more. So that is actually one of the ones that we do. We took a little pause from our company newsletter as we're working on retooling it a bit. But one of our things is, again, going back to that keyword of empowerment. We want to share information about what's happening in the marketing world. We know, because we're in it all the time, that things change constantly. I feel like anytime you're on the back end of your social media accounts, the interface changes, right? And so we try to keep up with that. Just yesterday, we had a number of clients reach out to us because there's a scam going on where these scammers are messaging businesses directly in their inbox, wanting them to click a link. Don't click it. So we're sharing that information through our social media channels to really help not only our clients, but everyone who follows us with this useful information that kind of helps protect them from future hackers. So again, provide knowledge or education. So show people your story. Don't tell them. Don't just sell to your customers. Explain to them who you are as a company, who you are as an organization. Now, I will say the big thing that you'll need to do is think about graphics that come along with the story that you're looking to tell. Gone are the days where you can just post copy. You don't want to just post copy anymore. You have to pair it with something to cut through that clutter online. We call this, and I got this from a Facebook conference some years ago, thumb stopping content. What makes you drop your thumb and stop to read that content? It's either an interesting video, music, audio voiceover, really cool graphic, right? But you need something that helps them drop their thumb and stop. When we're thinking of graphics, there's so many really cool platforms out there nowadays. Of course, you could work with a freelance designer, with a company to help you create branded graphics, but times have changed and there are some incredible platforms, one of them being Canva. If you haven't used Canva, it will be your best friend for life. It's an incredible platform. They have a free version. They do have a upgraded kind of paid version where you can start uploading your brand colors, your logo in it. And then it will give you a lot of different really cool preset designs that other designers have made. You can go in, manipulate, change. You start creating these incredible visual graphics that help you storytell. You can kind of see, these were just some quick examples that I pulled, but we're thinking of visual storytelling. I think a lot of us, when we're talking about like Canva and social media posts, we are thinking of Facebook and Instagram, right? But there, a couple of these on the left-hand side, these are actual screenshots of a website, right? And some of these could just be an image on the back. Some of them is what we call B-roll footage. So if we think back to that restaurant that's making tortillas, imagine almost like a slow motion video of someone in the kitchen grinding that corn, making the tortillas. Right when I land on that website, I immediately see, oh, they're doing this the legitimate way. Okay, this looks pretty good, and you get that immediately. So that's a great, that kind of website banner image is what we call it. That could be great to storytell through a really captivating photo, a really cool video. Now, again, for those, I do recommend working with a professional photographer, working with a professional videographer that can help showcase your story through visual elements. And a lot of times those professionals will ask you a lot of the questions that we went through. So it's good to kind of go through those again and have your ducks in a row, but they will help you create what they call kind of a branded session to create your own kind of branded set of collateral. Spotify, this was a really cool example from Spotify. Um, they did a really cool thing. One of their storytelling concepts is that they were taking data that they have and turned it into stories. And so one was, of course, with Spotify, they have all the analytics on the back end. So this was from 2018. Take a page from the 3,445 people who streamed the Boozy Brunch playlist on a Wednesday this year. That it's just kind of fun. It's funny. It's eye-catching. It's an interesting number. And this little campaign was music for every moment. So this is a storytelling campaign taking data and putting it into a really fun, simple visual. And again, what they're getting across is Spotify, again, music for every moment. They have a playlist for every moment that you can think of. And 3,400 people enjoyed Boozy Brunch on a Wednesday, which is just kind of funny. Photos, 67% of consumers say the quality of an image is very important in selecting a product, service, and building brand trust. When we were at our older office, when we were a younger company, I knew we wanted to invest in photography that makes us look a little larger, right, than what we were at the time. And so instead of using a stock photo on the left-hand side, right, that you see there, you can get from Shutterstock or Adobe Stock, we decided to bring in a photographer and just take a handful of more tailored photos. So again, it's still hands on a keyboard. You can kind of see our logo there, kind of off in that business card holder there. It really helps just elevate a lot of your storytelling efforts online. It humanizes a bit. It creates more of a sense of trust versus a page that is just full of stock. It looks very generic. Anyone could do that. So when I see photos that I could easily tell are from the actual business, I always find myself dropping my thumb and stopping and just something with it. I'm like, oh, that's really, I've been there, right? I know who that person is. Well, gosh, that looks really nice. I didn't realize that was in Muhammad. I didn't realize that was in Monticello, right? So it's really important to make sure that you do invest into your own branded stock photography for all of your content. So again, just some other examples here. We have a behind the scenes photo on the on the right hand side, showing us during a video shoot out on a quarry in a meeting. This was a still image we did a video shoot for one of our clients who's a cleaning company. So again, then just high quality images really help kind of elevate your content line. Each one of these, again, went with a story that we were looking to tell. We have about 15 minutes here. I do want to go through a few other slides here to give you some ideas. Photo tips. I do encourage you to take the time, even online too, of maybe looking up tips to take really high-end photos from your phone. Photo cameras on your phone have come a long way, and there's so many cool things that you can do on that. And so I do recommend, still working with a photographer for more headshots, branded office space. But you also want to make sure, that you're in the moment, right? You're not missing anything that could be critical. It's like, oh, we don't have a professional photographer in here, we shouldn't take that photo. You don't really want that. So how do you elevate your photo? You want to make sure, consider a tripod or mount for your phone. Use the timer on your camera. Pay attention to lighting. Pay attention to camera angles. Avoid manual zoom. Kind of just step closer to the subject matter. Get lighting, etc. I always give an example. We had a restaurant in Indy that would send me photos, great photos. I remember asking, hey, can you give me the name of the photographer because I want to set him up for future little shoots at the restaurant. And they said, oh, well, we just did all this from our phone. And it blew me away. I mean, these photos looked incredible. A little bit of a blur background. They really stood out. So take the extra 5-10 minutes to think about how could I make this photo look a little better, because it's going to help make your story stand out a lot more. When it comes to videos, they say a picture is worth 1,000 words. But if that's true, then a 1 minute video is worth 1.4 million words. This is a kind of little math equation that our videographer put together, but really what we're getting across is videos are huge, right? I remember 8 years ago when I went to a Facebook conference, they were saying video will be the next big thing, and it is. We see that now more than almost photos on Facebook Reels, TikTok, Instagram Reels, stories. It's all about these short format videos. So think about what you want to say. One of the things that we do recommend when you are thinking of storytelling, or this is great for behind the scenes content, using your closed captions. And this is, we have, again, a whole separate webinar if you're interested in learning more about how to create really good reels or stories. But up in your little stickers icon, this is in Instagram Reels, you have that little sticker icon there. When you click stickers, there is one called closed caption. You can just talk to the camera, and then it will automatically do captions for you and put it up on the screen. What I love about this is that we're not always in a situation where we can listen to what's on the screen. We could be in a waiting room, public setting, grocery store, something, waiting around for whatever it may be, but maybe our audio is not on. And if you don't have closed caption on some of those videos and you're talking in those videos, or your voice is piped over something in those videos, they won't hear it. So this is a great way if someone has their phone off or in one of those public settings, they can still understand what you're trying to get across in those videos. So again, a lot of cool things. Definitely, if you haven't already, when it comes to storytelling, definitely explore all the really cool stickers that are available to you within the Instagram sticker library. This is where, when we talked about building a sense of community, where we've run polls, questions, little interactive quizzes, all those are in here in this little sticker pack. When it comes to visual stories, there's a variety of different things that you could do when it comes to like your Instagram grid. You can see all of these have a certain aesthetic. There's definitely a certain look to it. A lot of these are planned out. I know for our Instagram account, we do plan our content out. If you do happen to go to ours, you'll see that we're starting to do things in strips. So we post 3 photos of a project at a time that kind of take up the whole width of the screen. You can see with all these, they are definitely working with some sort of either photographer, freelancer to create a certain aesthetic. Now, of course, I know not everyone has the budget to do that, but that doesn't mean if you don't have the budget, you can't do anything like this. It just takes a little more time and effort. Using the same filters, using the same lighting, right? Using the same kind of either subject matter or the way it's shot. We can kind of see on the far right, we have a certain color palette. In the middle, we have just probably interior designer. We have very similar shots across that creates that certain vibe. On the left, we have something maybe a little more moody, dark tones, more adventurous outdoor activities. So again, they are, even without even putting copy, we're not even looking at copy. We're just looking at photos and visuals alone. But when you create a certain aesthetic, you start creating a certain vibe. And already there's stories that are being told here by just looking at these visuals. Okay, I want to go over, before we get to questions and answers, I want to leave you just with more examples of how you can take your own stories and again, what makes you different, what makes you unique, what you want to get across to your core audience. What are some things that I can put together and create in Canva, create in my Instagram Reels, etc. One, using visual elements to enhance brand storytelling. So this goes back to branding, but color palettes, typography, and imagery can contribute to conveying specific emotions or messaging. We recently did, branding for a local community in the area, and we wanted to make sure the colors were bright, they were fun, they were approachable. The fonts that we picked were more lighthearted. They were hand brushed stroke fonts, right? Humanized it a bit more. It created this really nice community feel. That's what I'm talking about with visual elements. So again, this goes back to when you're creating something in Canva to explain a certain story that you're getting across, make sure you're keeping colors in mind and fonts in mind. You may already have that set if you set your branding, but that all helps package that story together. Before and after scenarios, this is incredible for contractors, for people that work in the health and nutrition, personal trainers, interior designers. People love seeing before and afters, and even a before and after photo without text tells a story itself. Case studies as visual stories, that's something that we've been doing more and more of is, we finish a project, but how do we talk about the project itself? What are we explaining? How do we get across that we help this client? We put these kind of visual, really cool case studies together on a website that walk through the problem, solution, overall deliverables, and then the results. So if you're not, and I have seen this, if you're more of a service-based business, you don't have a physical product that you sell, it is a little harder for us service-based businesses to story tell because we don't have a physical thing that we're selling. So how can we visually explain, hey, this is a project that we worked on, here are the results from that? And that could be done through some really cool visual graphs, visual case studies, etc. People love behind the scenes. That's that bakery example, that the corn tortilla example. We're working, that's going to be one of our goals going into the final quarter of 23 into 24. We want to show more behind the scenes. A lot of what we do is the finished, solid, polished product, but there's a lot that goes into it that people don't understand when we're on site shooting video, when we're behind our screen drafting 50 concepts to land on one strong one. And so we want to showcase more of the behind the scenes. And so I know a lot of us on the call, there is a lot of really cool behind the scenes stories that we could tell. What are those visuals that can go along with it? Interactive visual content, we talked about polls and quizzes. Those are great. Data visualization. So use data visuals like charts and graphs to tell a story with numbers. Think of infographics. If you don't know what those are, definitely Google those. I love a good infographic. In a beautiful way, it visualizes a lot of really cool statistics, impacts that you've made over the years, people that you've helped. It could be so many different things. You can definitely get some examples online, but that alone, that infographic is a unique story that you're looking to tell in a very unique visual way. So again, there's so many different things that you, just kind of flipping back between these two, that you could do online. The one example or last little tip I'll leave you with before we get to Q&A is develop a inspiration library. And so when you do think of, as you're scrolling through your phone, and I do this all the time, is you see something that catches your eye. Maybe it was just an incredible story that pulled out some sort of emotion, right? A really cool graphic that explained kind of who they are and the impacts that they made, or really cool behind the scenes footage. Save it to your phone. What is something from that caught your attention? Was it the music? Was it the visual? Was it the audio that's on it? Was it a combination of all those things? And start thinking about, okay, how can we take some of those and apply it to my own storytelling effort, my own marketing campaigns, or my own visuals on my website? You don't want to copy, of course, we don't want to plagiarize, but we definitely want to look at other inspiration to see what our competitors are doing, what are companies, organizations in similar industries doing across the country, and just kind of do some exploratory research. So again, tip of the iceberg today on a variety of different tips and tricks when it comes to storytelling, right? Developing a really good story. There's key elements of storytelling, tips on photos and videos, and of course, a variety of different examples of ways to apply your story to not only your website, but your social media accounts as well. So at this time, I'm going to hand it over to Jordan, see if we had any questions come through, and we'll go from there. Again, I do want to thank you for jumping on today's presentation.
Awesome. Thank you, Scott. We don't have any questions right now, but I do want to reiterate, you will get a recording. So if something pops up, please feel free to reach out to myself, Scott, our SBDC director, Madeline. We did get one chat that mentions a recording. Yes, that will be sent out to all attendees via email. That will go out tomorrow morning. So once Zoom is done processing it, I'll put all that information together in an email to all of you.
And real quick, while we wait to see if a question comes in, Jordan, I do want to plug our next webinar because we did talk about it here, which is actually Canva. We are going through, if you've struggled with Canva, this is more of an entry-level class in Canva of how to get started. You know, Canva has really disrupted our industry as graphic designers, but we're really, seeing the value in Canva for a lot of our clients. If they need a quick graphic on the go, if they want to create a nice, consistent brand design through a lot of their materials, there are some incredible ways to do that within Canva. And then we'll show you what are some cool things to do in Canva, what to avoid doing in Canva. I think, Jordan, you may have just dropped it in the chat there. I just saw a notification come in. Yeah, so that is actually coming up within just, I think, the next week, couple weeks here. Is our Canva one. So please be sure to register for that if you haven't already. Either if you've just got started on Canva, or if you've heard about it and you have no idea what it is, that would be a great webinar to jump on for sure.
Definitely. So we don't have any questions that have been submitted. So I do want to thank everyone for joining us today. We do hope to see you on a future session. I did drop the link in the chat to all of them, but I'll include that in our upcoming or our email as well. Just to reiterate again, our website is under construction. So in that email, I'll include both the link to the Clanin Marketing website where you can see all of our sessions we're doing together, along with a link to our Facebook page where we have all of our upcoming events, including ones that our SBDC director, Madeline, is putting on. So I want to thank everyone for joining us today, and thank you, Scott, for presenting.
Thank you so much. Have a good rest of your day, and I hope to see you at one of our next webinars.
Thanks, everybody.